Deep underground in an undisclosed location, this is Tread Comics presents the history of the Muppets. The Muppets are an ensemble cast of puppet characters known for their absurdist, burlesque, and self-referential style of variety sketch comedy. Created by Jim and Jane Henson in 1955, they are the namesakes of the Disney-owned media franchise that encompasses television, music, film, and other media associated with the characters. The Muppets originated in the short-form television series Sam and Friends, which aired from 1955 to 1961. Following appearances on late-night talk shows and in advertising during the 1960s, the Muppets began appearing on Sesame Street in 1969, and attained celebrity status and international recognition through The Muppet Show, 1976 to 1981, which received 4 Primetime Emmy Award wins and 21 nominations during its 5-year run. During the 1970s and 1980s, the Muppets diversified into theatrical films, including The Muppet Movie, 1979, The Great Muppet Caper, 1981, and The Muppets Take Manhattan, 1984. The Walt Disney Company began involvement with the Muppets in the late 1980s, during which Henson entered negotiations to sell the Jim Henson Company. The Muppets continued their media presence in the 1990s with the Jim Henson Hour, 1989, and Muppets Tonight, 1996 to 98, both of which were similar in format to The Muppet Show, and 3 films, The Muppet Christmas Carol, 1992, Muppet Treasure Island, 1996, and Muppets from Space, 1999. Disney acquired the Muppets in February 2004, allowing the characters to gain broader public exposure than in the previous years. Under Disney, subsequent projects included 2 films, The Muppets, 2011, and Muppets Most Wanted, 2014, a short-lived primetime series on ABC, and a reboot of the Muppet Babies animated series. In their 6-decade career, the Muppets have been regarded as a staple of the entertainment industry and popular culture in the United States and English-speaking area generally, being recognized by various cultural institutions and organizations, including the American Film Institute, Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, Library of Congress, and the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The Muppets were created by puppeteer Jim Henson in the 1950s. Among his earliest creations was Kermit the Frog, who would become Henson's most recognizable character. Originally conceived for an adult audience, Henson claimed, and later recanted, that he coined the term Muppet as a portmanteau of the words marionette and puppet. In 1955, the Muppets were introduced in Sam and Friends, a short-form television series produced for WRC-TV in Washington, D.C. Developed by Henson and his future wife Jane Nebel, the series was the first form of puppet media not to incorporate a physical proscenium arch typical of such works, relying instead on the natural framing of the television set through which it was viewed. During the 1960s, the characters, in particular, Kermit and Rolf the dog, appeared in skits on several late-night talk shows and on television commercials, including The Ed Sullivan Show. Rolf became the first Muppet character to appear regularly on network television when he began appearing with Jimmy Dean on The Jimmy Dean Show. In 1966, Joan Gans Cooney and Lloyd Morissette began developing a children's educational television program and approached Henson to design a cast of Muppet characters during this stage. Produced by the Children's Television Workshop, the program debuted as Sesame Street in 1969. Henson and his creative team became closely involved with Sesame Street during the years that followed. Henson waived his performance fee in exchange for retaining ownership rights to the Muppet characters created for the program. Sesame Street garnered a positive response, and the Muppets' involvement in the series was said to be a vital component of its increasing popularity, providing an effective and pleasurable viewing method of presentation for its educational curriculum. In the early 1970s, the Muppets continued their presence in television, primarily appearing in the Land of Gorge segments during the first season of Saturday Night Live. As his involvement with Sesame Street continued, Henson began developing a network television series focusing on the Muppets, as opposed to Sesame Street. However, this series would be aimed at a more adult audience and focus largely on sketch comedy. 2 television pilots, The Muppets Valentine Show and The Muppet Show, Sex and Violence, aired on ABC in 1974 and 1975, respectively. After ABC passed on the pilots and other networks in the United States expressed little interest in the product, British producer Lou Grade approached Henson and agreed to co-produce the series for Associated Television. Debuting in 1976, The Muppet Show introduced new characters such as Miss Piggy, Fozzie Bear, Gonzo, an animal alongside existing characters such as Kermit and Rolf. Aired in first-run syndication in the United States, The Muppet Show became increasingly popular due to its sketch variety format, unique form of humor, and prolific roster of guest stars. It was nominated for 21 Primetime Emmy Awards during its run, winning 4, including Outstanding Variety Series in 1978. The success of The Muppet Show allowed Henson Associates to diversify into theatrical films, the first of which, The Muppet Movie, was released in 1979. Following The Muppet Movie were The Great Muppet Caper and The Muppets Take Manhattan, released in 1981 and 1984, respectively. Collectively, the 3 films received 4 Academy Award nominations. In 1983, Henson debuted Fraggle Rock, which aired on HBO in the United States until 1987. In 1989, Henson entered negotiations with Michael Eisner in the Walt Disney Company, in which the latter would acquire Jim Henson Productions and, in turn, the Muppets. Disney expressed interest in purchasing the company for $150 million. Eisner was also interested in acquiring the Sesame Street Muppet characters. Henson declined the proposal, however, considering it a non-starter for the deal. As discussions continued, Henson and Walt Disney Imagineering preemptively began developing Muppets-themed attractions for the Disney MGM studios at Walt Disney World. However, the proposed merger was cancelled after Henson's death in 1990. Nevertheless, Disney initiated a licensing agreement with Henson to continue developing Muppets attractions. The following year, Muppet Vision 3D debuted at Disney MGM Studios, the only attraction successfully developed from the original plans. Disney also co-produced the 4th and 5th Muppets films, The Muppet Christmas Carol and Muppet Treasure Island, with Henson in 1992 and 1996, respectively. The characters subsequently starred in Muppets Tonight, which aired from 1996 to 1998, and a 6th film, Muppets from Space, released by Columbia Pictures in 1999. In 2000, Henson was sold to M.TV and Merchandising AG for $680 million. However, M.TV's stock collapsed and the Henson family reacquired the company in 2003, with the exception of the Sesame Street characters, which were in the interim sold to Sesame Workshop. 14 years after initial negotiations began, Disney acquired the Muppets' intellectual property from Henson for $75 million on February 17, 2004. The acquisition consisted of most of the Muppets film and television library, as well as the Bear in the Big Blue House television series. Exceptions included the Sesame Street characters, which were previously sold to Sesame Workshop, the Fraggle Rock characters, which were retained by Henson, and the distribution rights to 4 films, The Muppets Take Manhattan, Muppets from Space, and Kermit's Swamp Years, which were retained by Sony Pictures Entertainment, and It's a Very Merry Muppet Christmas Movie, retained by Universal Television Distribution. Following the acquisition, Disney formed the Muppets Studio, originally the Muppets Holding Company, a wholly owned subsidiary responsible for managing the characters and franchise. As a result, the term Muppet became a legal trademark of Disney. Under license from Disney, Sesame Workshop continues to use the term for their characters, as well as archival footage of Kermit the Frog. Henson retains the rights to several productions featuring the Disney-owned Muppet characters, including Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, The Christmas Toy, Sesame Street, 20 and Still Counting, Henson's Place, Billy Bunny's Animal Songs, the original Dog City Special, and Donna's Day. While some of these have since been released uncut, most current releases of Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas and The Christmas Toy omit the appearances by Kermit the Frog. Disney gradually began reintroducing the franchise to the mainstream in 2008. As a method of regaining a wider audience, Disney produced a series of vignettes for YouTube. A Bohemian Rhapsody cover version was among these projects and immediately went viral, ultimately amassing 50 million views and won 2 Emmy Awards. In 2010, the Muppets starred in The Muppets Kitchen with Cat Cora, which co-starred Cat Cora and showcased cooking demonstrations. A television special, The Muppets Christmas, Letters to Santa, premiered on NBC on December 17, 2008, and was released on DVD on September 29, 2009. In 2010, Disney used the Muppets to promote their volunteerism program at the company's theme parks. A Halloween special featuring the Muppets was developed during that time and expected to air on ABC that October, but was cancelled. In 2011, the Muppets were featured in an eponymous 7th film, intended to serve as a creative reboot for the characters. Disney had been furthering development on a Muppets film since 2008, when it considered adapting an unused screenplay by Jerry Gell. Directed by James Bobbin, written by Jason Segel and Nicholas Stoller, and starring Segel, Amy Adams, Chris Cooper, and Rashida Jones, the film was a critical and commercial success, and won an Academy Award for Best Original Song. During the film's publicity campaign, the Muppets appeared in promotional advertisements and effusive marketing efforts by Disney and were also featured in a promotional video for Google+. In March 2012, the Muppets received a collective star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. That year, the Muppets hosted a Just for Laughs comedy gala in Montreal. 31. Following the successful performance of the Muppets, Disney announced an 8th film in 2012, with Bobbin and Stoller returning to direct and write, respectively. Muppets Most Wanted was released in 2014, and starred Ricky Gervais, Tina Fey, and Ty Burrell. Disney Theatrical Productions announced in 2013 that a live show based on the Muppets was in active development and that a 15-minute show had been conducted by Thomas Schumacher to see how the technical components would work. Muppet Moments, an interstitial television series, premiered on Disney Junior in April 2015. The short-form series features conversations between the Muppets and young children. After the release of Muppets Most Wanted, Disney was interested in expanding the Muppets' presence across various media platforms, particularly in television. Discussions for a new primetime series began internally within the Muppets studio. By April 2015, Bill Prady was commissioned to write a script for a pilot with the working title Muppets 2015. In May 2015, ABC commissioned an eponymous mockumentary series, co-developed by Prady and Bob Gushell and directed by Randall Einhorn. The Muppets premiered on September 22, 2015 in the United States, and ended on March 1, 2016. In September 2017, the Muppets performed a concert series at the Hollywood Bowl, hosted by Bobby Moynihan. This was followed in July 2018 by a similar concert series at London's O2 Arena, their first outside of the United States. 2 web television series have been in development, both for Disney+. Muppets Live Another Day, intended to star Josh Gad, was announced in February 2018 and entered active development the following year. In September 2019, Gad confirmed the project's cancellation. Muppets Now, a short-form improvisational comedy series, was announced in August 2019. It is scheduled for a 2020 debut.